Okay, first thing first, we drag out the sphere and press T to enable the edit mode and press make polymesh 3D to make it a real mesh. Then we import some image as reference image. I'm sorry that I cannot provide this image because I don't own this. But it's very easy to get from the internet. You just Google, search for the keyword, and it should be very easy to find. Don't forget to turn the spotlight projection off because if it's on, you won't be able to use any brush except move brush. Scale the sphere down and then enable Dynamesh. Make sure the active point count is between 2000 and 3000. The reason why I do that is because the density like that is pretty good. It's not very dense, it's easy to manipulate, and it's not super low poly. You can basically shape it into any shape you want. Ctrl+Shift+D to duplicate the sphere and move it up for later use. That way we don't need to append primitive shape every time we need geometry. We can just duplicate a sphere. It's a big time saver. Before you start to adjust the shape, don't forget to turn the symmetry on. Now we switch to the move brush and start to adjust the sphere to make it looks more like the head shape. In the blocking out stage, I use move brush and smooth brush for the most time. Look closely at the reference image. Use move brush to make it resemble the shape. It really doesn't need to be 100% like the reference image right now. In this blocking out stage, this is only the basic shape. We're gonna refine it later in the refine stage, so don't spend too much time on refining it right now. Okay, the basic head shape is done. Now we duplicate the sphere and move it down. We can start to block out the upper torso. And don't forget to enable the symmetry. Again, duplicate the sphere and move it down. We can start to block out the lower part of the torso. And we can switch to other subtool to adjust the shape to make sure the overall shape is looking correct. We can also use the gizmo tool to rotate the subtool when it's necessary. We duplicate the sphere again and move it down and scale it down and scale it on the y-axis to make it longer, and we can use move brush to adjust the shape. The head is super big, so we scale it down a little bit. Here, the orientation of the torso isn't looking correct. We can use the gizmo to select multiple subtools and rotate it all together. Now we want to block out the shoulder part. We duplicate the sphere and move it down and move forward. If you take a look at reference image, you're gonna notice that the shoulder part is a cylindrical shape. It's basically a cylinder. So the radial symmetry is perfect for this kind of shape. Instead of x-axis symmetry, we want to turn the y-axis symmetry on. And if the subtool is not at the origin of the world, we need to turn on the local symmetry to make sure the radial symmetry is working correctly. Here we switch to the Create Build-Up brush and holding down the Alt button and gradually shaping it. Now we switch to the Move brush and continue to shape it. Here we switch to the Damien standard brush and start sculpting the surface. We switch back to the Move brush and continue shaping. This is a little too big right now. We scale it down. Here I'm gonna use the stager feature. I'm gonna mark the current position as the home stage. And before moving it, make sure you turn the symmetry off and start to move it to the position. The size of it is a little big, but it's okay right now. I'm going to adjust it later in a refine stage. And now it's in a position. I'm going to mark it as the target stage. Now we can use the switch stage button to switch between two stages. Now the shoulder part is done. We duplicate a sphere and move it down and start blocking out the forearm. We use the gizmo tool to scale it on the y-axis. And the forearm is a cylindrical shape too, so we can use the radial symmetry to tackle it. Okay, the forearm shape is pretty good. We use the stager feature to move the shoulder part down. The stage feature is not really easy to use. I'm not a big fan of it. Use the gizmo tool to move the forearm into position. Scale it, make sure the size is okay. Mark a home stage here. Reset the shoulder part's home stage and switch back to the target stage. And use the gizmo tool to move the forearm into position. We duplicate the sphere and move it down to start blocking out the upper leg. The upper leg is also a cylindrical shape, so we're gonna use radial symmetry on it. Use the gizmo tool to make it longer and switch back to move brush to shape it. Switch to Damien's standard brush, holding down the Alt button to make shape like that. Switch back to move brush to adjust the overall shape. We duplicate the sphere and make it the middle part of the leg. And we scale it down, and then we scale it on the y-axis. Activate the radial symmetry. Open the subtool tab and holding down the shift, press the move down button to move it to the bottom of the subtool list. Repeat this process to the upper leg and merge down to merge this subtool together. Scale it and mark it as a home stage, and then move it into position. Okay, this is looking pretty good.